Call.
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Alderman Taylor,
Here.
Alderwoman Bibbs,
Here.
Alderman Hartman,
Here.
Alderman Runyon,
Here.
Alderman Maloney,
Here.
Alderman Rousey. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silent prayer for our men and women in harm's way, as well as our public safety employees. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very, very much. You may be seated. The next item is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maloney.
make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as printed and presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second, Mayor.
Alderwoman
I
Bibbs.
second the motion.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So tonight's agenda has been approved. The next item is the approval of the minutes from June 27th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Taylor.
I move that the minutes from June 27, 2023 be approved as printed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mayor,
Alderwoman Bibbs.
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the regular session minutes from June 27th, 2023 have been approved. The next item is awards presentation, organizational business, and we are presenting the Yard of the Month winners. And Becky, if you will show on the board our Yard of the Month winners, that would be awesome. So, the Yard of the Month winners for Ward 1 is Chris and Sandra, and the picture will be coming up here momentarily. And I know Chris and Sandra are not here, so we can still appreciate, there it is. So that is Ward 1, Yard of the Month. So that's Chris and Sandra. Ward 2 is Gary. Is Gary here today? There he is. Great. Gary, there's Gary's house. And again, Ward 2, congratulations to Gary. And Ward 3 is Bernard, who is not here. However, I will be delivering his to him as well. He has not been feeling the best here lately, but we will still make sure he gets his as well. So Gary, if you would come on up, Gary, and we have gift bags for you. Gift certificate in here from one of our restaurants and a number of many Grandview affiliates for you. So thank you very much, and again, thank you for what you've done, and the Board of Aldermen would like to thank you again, Gary, for all you've done. Appreciate it. And the house looks awesome. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Next, we have a number of people being reappointed, and I'm going to let the Board of Aldermen read this so that we can get them appointed. And I'm going to let Alderman Maloney, will you make a motion for the, oh, you've got it there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint the following commissioners to reappointments. Liz Ogle to the Industrial Development Authority to a 6-year term that expires April 30th, 2029. To the Planning Commission, Mr. Sean Nelson, reappointment to a term to expire July 1st, 2027, and Jim Crane to a reappointment that expires the same date, July 1st, 2027. The Historical Preservation Commission, Alderman Dan Hartman, reappointed that expires July 13th, 2026, and Christian Parchman, a reappointment to a term that expires July 13th, 2026. Construction Code Appeals Board, Mr. Damon Green, a reappointment to a term that expires July 14, 2028.
Thank you very much. Is there a second? Alderwoman Bibbs. Is it moved in second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So we are going to swear in those who have just been called. So we're going to stand up here to the flag. If you would please come up. And I see Liz, and I see Christian, and I see Dan. So Dan, you up front. You being sworn in. Yes. Right up front. Right up front. The three of you, yes. Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri and the provisions of all the laws of this state affecting cities of the fourth class and the ordinances of this city, faithfully discharge all duties pertaining to your office, and faithfully demean yourself in the office to which you've been appointed, so help you God?
Sign your lives away. So thank you again for those of you who have faithfully served and continue to serve on the different commissions. We definitely appreciate it very, very much. The next item on the agenda is public comment. So we actually have the 3-minute limit for those who would like to address the Board of Aldermen for public comment. However, tonight we have 2 public hearings. So if you have any comments on the public hearing dealing with the conceptual design for the U-Haul as well as conceptual design for the Evergy substation, wait until that public hearing. So the time is 7:08. I declare public comment open. Please step up to the mic, state your name and address, and address the Board of Aldermen. When you finish, do sign in right here with Becky at the dais there.
Good evening. We'll do a mic test again. Is it working this time?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank
Just stay close to it.
I will. Thank
Okay.
you. Good evening, Grandview, Missouri. My name is Ed Costa. I live at 1107 High Grove Road, Grandview, Missouri, right next door to Mr. Alderman, or Hartman, sorry. This is not my first time standing at this podium. We have more problems within this city, less than 25,000 population, than the largest cities adjacent to Grandview, Missouri. One of the biggest problems is non-adherence to speed limit regulations and enforcement. School-grown zones across America have speed limit codes, speed bumps, and speed plateaus. I have addressed this before. At least 9 times a day, speed limit travel is exceeding 50 miles per hour past our school at Conwest School on Hargrove Road, between 5th Street and 15th Street. I have been in touch with Public Works, and it's agreed to install speed limit signs in this area. Except for placard signs in or near Conwest School, no speed limit signs have been posted for more than 8 years. On Saturday, July 8th, I witnessed an accident at 8th and Main Street. That was this year, 2023. A yellow Chevy Camaro at high speed of rate was completely totaled out, lost its front wheel and broken axle while colliding with 2 cars and a motorcycle and the motorcyclist actually was able to depart without injury. This car was completely totaled out, and there were 7 Grandview police cars at that intersection to block off traffic while this was taken care of on Saturday. This is outrageous. I'm exhausted about hearing nothing can be done about it. I am tired of hearing we can't catch them all, which was told to me by a Grandview police officer when I addressed it to him. Prevention is what it takes to stop it, not bureaucratic excuses why it cannot be done. You can spend excess of $15 million on hazardous traffic circles such as the one at Main Street going across 49 Highway,
You have
which
30,
has almost
you have
10
30 seconds left.
Pardon me?
Okay, 30 seconds left.
Almost 10 lanes of traffic intersecting from different points, which is absolutely ridiculous and hazardous. Even a person that is not drunk and coherent has a problem navigating this intersection. The other point is the trees that are planted by Grandview, Missouri are your responsibility. If low-hanging branches are at these intersections where you can't see across Main Street to enter the traffic zone, then somebody needs to get out there and trim those lower branches. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do sign in right here. Thank you very much. And again, we have public comment. Anybody want to address the board need to step up to the mic. Step up to the mic, except for the 2 public hearings. We've got 2 public hearings. You've got comments on the public hearings. We're going to wait until those public hearings.
Well, I don't have those comments.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see all of you nice people out there smiling. My name is G. Bell. Some of you are familiar with me. I live at 7204, he's shaking his head, East 131st Street, Grandview, Missouri. Lived there for 12 years. Hi, Chief, as well. I am back up here today. I want to say thank you, first of all, for starting the repair of curbs and sidewalks within my subdivision. I live in Auburn Hills. However, I have some issues with the work and how it has been performed. I have several pictures. I now know that I will not have grass growing in certain areas because the concrete has come up out of the box, how you're supposed to put it down. Also, I sent a couple of emails. I know you guys are busy. But what actually is the final plan? Because the issue with the water pooling in front of my home, the gentleman that I spoke with that actually did the curb, he did not do all the curbs. He did mine, which raised it considerably, but there still is a great indention in this street. So I would just like to know, this is usually the only arena I actually get an answer to how and who I should talk to about how the final results should go. Thank you once again. I appreciate all of you, and thank you.
Thank you very much again. We appreciate that. The time is 7:13. I declare public comment closed. The next area is public hearing. So we have 2 public hearings. The first one is the public hearing for a conceptual design plan for U-Haul. The time is 7:13, and I declare the public hearing open. And Dave, I see you have stepped up to the table.
All right. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and board members. Tonight we have in front of you a Planning Commission case for a conceptual development plan. U-Haul and their representatives are here with us this evening. I'll give a presentation here in just a moment. But I'd like to provide some background on the case, catch you guys kind of up where we're at with that, and allow the applicant to get up and give their presentation and field questions. The applicant visited the Community Development Department on February 6, 2023 for a pre-application meeting to discuss their proposed project. The applicant's representative shared that the site of interest for U-Haul is for constructing a self-storage facility in Grandview. They shared that they are planning to purchase the remaining vacant land from the owners of Raptor Recycling. Staff shared that the development steps for proposing a project in a PD zoning district where the property is over 2 acres in size, which involves a conceptual development plan and a series of public hearings prior to final development plan submittals. The goal for this project is to create indoor climate-controlled self-storage and provide some non-climate-controlled storage boxes in the rear of the property. The proposed development would sit back off the interstate frontage road and behind the existing buildings on the south side of Blue Ridge Boulevard, just east of I-49. Staff has shared the importance of retaining the existing vegetation along the frontage road and along the east property line, which acts as a natural buffer from the Crossgate subdivision. Access to the property will be gained through Kansas City, Missouri, and the applicant's working through the driveway permit process currently with Kansas City, Missouri. The initial plans that have been submitted have been shared with Grandview staff, including emergency services and the fire department. With that, I'll hand it back to you all for any questions.
Fantastic. And U-Haul representatives are here. Again, this is public hearing, so please step up to the mic, state your name and address, and who's driving the presentation?
The applicant.
The applicant's driving the presentation, okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Aaron Kruger with the U-Haul Company, and we're at 12123 Blue Ridge Boulevard in Grandview, Missouri. To get started, just a little history of U-Haul. We were founded in 1945 by a Navy veteran and his wife who saw the means where people needed to be able to move personal belongings across North America. Currently, we operate the U-Haul location at 11827 Blue Ridge Boulevard, and we're looking to develop the abutting property to the west. We want to put in a state-of-the-art U-Box storage facility. Currently, we offer truck and trailer sharing, moving supplies. We put on hitches, refill propane, and have self-storage. The area in question, if you could go back one, Alex, please. So we are looking to develop the property to our west, to the south behind the Shell station, and then to the east of Raptor Recycling. We are proposing a
Can you
site
point
plan
as
there
he's
where the
talking?
larger
Can you
building
point?
in front is the U-Box storage building, and the smaller buildings are the sustainable storage. And then we have the retention pond that we show there in the back. The next slide should be, this is our landscaping plan. Alex with our engineering firm can go more into detail about that. We're looking to keep as much of the vegetation between us and the neighborhood as possible. We don't want to intrude on that by any means. Then we have a rendering here from I-49 and Blue Ridge Boulevard. You can see the state-of-the-art climate-controlled U-Box building in the front with the sustainable van body storage behind. The next rendering is of the look from Blue Ridge Boulevard. And then other than that, we do have a few building features. There's some site elevations that he can run through that'll show you each kind of side of the building. And then with any of our new construction, we offer regional materials that we try to build with. We use thermally efficient building shells, energy efficient roofs. We offer take a box, leave a box for recycling. We do LED lighting, thermostat settings at the inside the building, motion sensor lighting, as well as energy efficient light fixtures. And then we have double pane windows on the top of the building, which you can see in the picture there. And I'm just here this evening to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the right side? Any questions you have for either Dave or the applicant?
Just a quick question on the entrance. It looks like that's a gas station right there. Is that correct?
Correct, and we would sit behind it.
So your entrance is going to be on the east of the gas station?
Yes, our current entrance.
Okay.
Any other questions on this side? Questions on this side?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Maloney.
I don't know if the packet that we got is exactly the same as yours here. I guess I'm a little confused on a couple different things here. Just the main building here, in the packet that we're provided here, there's a lot of examples of other locations, Holland, Michigan, different things here, but every building is different. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what this state-of-the-art building rendering is supposed to be.
So the
'Cause-
renderings were designed by the engineering firm in coordination with the planning department. Those were our original first meeting photos. This is more of our finished product and what we want to
So is
develop.
that 4 stories?
It's 1 story and the building's 42 foot high. There's no floors inside the building.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. And now, if somewhat familiar with that site there, it drops down a lot. Are you guys going to be bringing it up to street level of Blue Ridge?
Can I refer that to the engineering guy?
Yeah. Good morning, or good evening, everyone. Alex Amadeo, 217 East 2nd Street, Des Moines, Iowa. To answer your question on that, the site does slope away pretty far to the southwest, and the goal of the site is to leave it as naturally as it is. So we would not be bringing it all the way up to what the grade is on Blue Ridge, but we would be keeping it as to both can safely maneuver the site to get access to it. So we're not bringing it up, but we are trying to keep it as naturally as it is currently.
So if we're going to keep the kind of the natural grade there, what are you guys going to do about watershed that's going to be going towards those houses?
I'm gonna jump over to the grading plan for this one to help just show a little bit in more detail for that. But I guess this can kind of show it here in better detail. But we're planning on having an above ground detention system here that will be dry when it's not raining. But in any rain event, any water that discharges on this new pavement here will then enter into this detention basin before it outlets into this natural drainage channel that runs along kind of that southern diagonal of our site. And with that, we do plan on meeting all state and local regulations on that. And how it's currently designed does meet all the requirements.
Are you going to be planting any new vegetation along the property line between us and the houses?
Yes. So the goal of this is there's currently a large sanitary easement that runs through there. So we're going to be leaving at least the first part of that completely untouched. And then if there is any kind of natural vegetation that's currently there, the goal would be to maintain it and then to help also keep that buffer that's currently there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on the left? Yes, Alderman Renians.
This retainage, are you going to keep that clean? Because that's a good place to get varmints and everything else in there. And that would be a detriment to the neighbors.
Correct. The goal would be to make sure that we ensure best management practices with that detention basin and that it's properly maintained, and with the landscaping company that they will have come out and mow the site, they would then make sure that any type of trash, debris, anything that may get in there is free of debris so that it can work how it was designed.
And I believe at the meeting last week, you said that the new building will be 45 foot tall. I know one of the commissioners on the planning commission had some concerns about that tall of a building sitting in that. It's a little, doesn't match the rest of the terrain.
Correct. It does act as kind of a larger building in this area. And I'm going to jump over to this rendering here. So as you can see, it does stand quite a bit larger than that existing gas station that is here for how tall it is. But like I mentioned also, it is going to be sloped down a little bit with a natural grade. So it may be 45 feet high, but it might be sitting a little bit lower if you're looking at it from either roadway. And then in addition to that, we are going to be placing vegetation kind of at this frontage here to help also serve as a buffer for that new building.
And the other, have you still working with Kansas City, because your current entrance isn't great right now? So are we going to have a real decent entrance into your property? Has Kansas City already approved it?
I can answer that. We're 95% through the process with them and haven't had any issues. We're just waiting on a signature, and they should approve widening our current entrance.
Could
Yeah.
you also just say what it is you're doing? Some of us were at the planning commission, a lot of the folks here were not, and so explain what the intent is that U-Haul is doing with that entrance.
So what a U-Box storage building does is we offer a 5x8 by 7.5 foot tall, basically, it's kind of like a pod. We'll bring it to your house. You load your belongings into the box. We will store it on site in that building there. When you are ready to retrieve the items, we will bring them back to your house, or we will ship them anywhere in the country that you would like them. Boxes that will be stored in there will come from all over the city because we deliver to Olathe, Overland Park, Lee Summit, Grandview. So all the boxes that we pick up from the surrounding areas will also be stored in that building,
And how
which is a
wide
good sales tax revenue for everyone.
How wide was the entrance going to be, or is you hope to be?
I don't know the exact number, but I would assume it is at least 30 feet wide.
Okay.
And it would be taking place between, there's a natural grass kind of area that runs between U-Haul's current access and then the Shell gas station access. It would kind of go right in between there in order to allow proper ingress, egress of the site.
So, any other questions on the left?
Yeah. Just to touch base on what he was saying, 45 feet, that'd be the tallest building in Grandview. Is there a restriction on Grandview's height buildings?
Yes, sir. So depending on what zoning district that we're referring to, generally speaking, most of Blue Ridge and Grandview, so on the other south side of the highway, is in the C2 general commercial designation. In that zoning designation, you could potentially build up to 75 feet, but most of the buildings obviously aren't. In this particular, on this property, it's zone plan district, part of the reason why we're here. So part of setting up kind of those requirements or standards are what we're looking at tonight. So they're making a proposal to build a building of that size, and it would be specific to this ordinance that would eventually get entertained. So.
And follow up on that, on the water drainage, you buying this property from Raptor, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You buying this property from Raptor?
Correct.
Now, you're going to have water draining down towards Raptor. Now, there is a natural stream down in that area. Now, Raptor is, I went down there today, and it's pretty bad off. And I didn't talk to anyone, but they have garbage, and they're washing it down, and it's going to the natural stream, and the natural stream is going to Longview Lake. So you say this grade is not going to run down that hill towards Raptor?
Yes. So the goal of this site is kind of between Raptor's site is the one directly south of here,
Yes.
and the natural drainage swell, it runs almost right along the property line. I think it does kind of cut right in between the two. So everything undisturbed on the U-Haul site, this grassed area here is going to run right to that drainage channel, and then everything that U-Haul is going to be proposing for pavement, building, all that area is going to go right to that detention center. So in that detention basin, it's not going to be sending anything to that natural drainage area other than what the outlet pipe will have. So it is going to greatly reduce anything that goes to that drainage channel.
Mayor.
Okay, Alderwoman Bibbs, then Alderman Maloney.
How long do you anticipate that it would take this job to be completed?
I'm going to refer to you on that, Alex. You guys have built a couple of them already.
I believe that once construction plans have been and building permit have been approved, under a year.
Thank you.
Alderman Maloney?
Dave, it's usually a protocol that we contact any residents within a certain, footage of the post site there. Did we have any residents show up during the planning commission?
We didn't have any residents show up. We did have the neighboring property to the south property owner show up to speak during public comment, but that was it.
Okay, because they were very vocal when Raptor came in, so I would just imagine that same kind of turnout of just questions and educational process as well. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the board?
I have one more.
Yes, Alderman Runyon.
And this isn't your existing property that's in Kansas City, which is, coming into Grandview, are you going to improve that?
So half of our property sits in Kansas City, Missouri, and the back half sits in Grandview. So we are looking to develop the Grandview side of it.
So you're going to clean up what you've got there now?
Right.
All right.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing, so anyone that would like to address this public hearing, please step up to the mic, state your name and address, do sign in when you finish, and you have 3 minutes to address the public hearing. So this, again, is a public hearing, so please, anyone else that's going to address, don't raise your hand, get up to the mic. Anybody needs to address this public hearing, let's get up to the mic, state your name and address, and
Hi, my name is Christian Parchman, 12700 Blue Ridge Circle. I just wanted to say, I don't know if it directly pertains to this situation. There was a comment made about the tallest structure in Grandview. I believe not only Booth Manor is the tallest structure in Grandview, standing at 7 stories, but I think that where it sits is one of the highest elevation points in Grandview. So just wanted to have that on record, just in case it has any bearing on this conversation.
thank you very much. And I see one more person.
My name is Kit Starr, and I am one of the owners of Raptor next door. I would love to talk to you after the meeting based on the comments you made. Okay. As we look at this property and this use for U-Haul, there's several things that we took into account in our discussions with them and what it is. But this property is pretty unique in that it's very usable for Raptor for expansion, for the gas station for expansion, and for U-Haul for expansion. But it doesn't have a lot of wide uses outside of those 3 areas because of the access from the outer road would not be safe. So it would have to enter across our property, the gas station property, or the U-Haul property. So getting somebody to use this property for other uses would be quite difficult. And so utilizing it by one of the 3 of us is really the best use of this property. Some of the reasons that I like it, we've had issues, as some of you know, with homeless people back in the woods and some of those things. And I think from a general safety standpoint, having them develop it, landscape it, I think it'll be prettier. I think it will be safer. And I think, generally speaking, it's an improvement all the way around, including the fact that then the city will get a little bit of tax revenue off of it, but it'll be able to be better maintained and controlled, and I think better all the way around.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the Board of Aldermen? If not, staff, any last comments you have for us on this public hearing?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. The time is 7:33. I declare this public hearing closed. The next public hearing we have is conceptual design plan for Evergy substation. The time is 7:33. I declare this public hearing open. Dave?
Okay, so thank you all again. For this conceptual development plan, Evergy is here tonight as the applicant to speak about their project. Evergy visited the Community Development Department on April 18th, 2023 for a pre-application meeting to discuss their proposed project with staff. During the meeting, staff informed the applicant of the development process for properties zoned PD and over 2 acres in size, which involves a conceptual development plan to be approved prior to final construction documents being submitted to for administrative review. Staff noted that special attention should be given to the visual sight lines from surrounding areas. It was requested that a wall be constructed around the development site and that it should be broken up by landscaping to lessen its harshness. Furthermore, staff recommended that since no sidewalk exists along the west side of 15th Street, which is this development site's frontage, that a sidewalk be built along the east side of 15th Street from 135th south to the development's northern boundary. And I'll just note that south of their northern boundary, there is existing sidewalk to tie into. So this would help kind of complete a missing gap that we have. The applicant did convey that with the construction of the substation, it would allow for some smaller substations currently around the city to be closed down and possibly deconstructed. And I think they can kind of touch on the specifics of that in a moment. And then staff at the time of the pre-application meeting suggested that the applicant meet with neighbors in the area to share their intentions and receive feedback prior to these public hearings with the city. So with that, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. And the applicant is here, so please step up to the mic, state your name and address so that we will know who is sharing with us, and we will proceed accordingly.
Okay.
Jessica Keck with Evergy.
Again, you got to get it close again, just like, yeah.
I usually have a pretty loud voice, too. Jessica Keck with Evergy. Address is 818 South Kansas Avenue, Topeka, Kansas. We're having a minor technical difficulty. We're uploading the correct slideshow, so it'll be a second.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going to try to pull this a little closer. Okay. All right. So with Evergy, we'll get through the backbones of it. For all of our projects, we have a responsibility and an obligation to serve our 1.6 million customers within our designated service area. And with all of our projects, we study them thoroughly to ensure that we deliver the reliable, sustainable, and affordable power that our customers need. This project's no different. We went through a rigorous process to determine what our next steps were, what we needed for this area, and what our next site was. We got information from the regulators, employees, regional customers, local leaders, the community. Like I said, we had a meeting with the city early on in the process as well. We ended up with this site that's located at the intersection of 15th Street and East 135th Street. The project is currently vacant and zoned in the planning district. The proposed substation will be accessed off of a new entrance off of 15th Street. You can see the site up there. The why. So why is this new substation needed? There's industrial growth expected near the intersection of 150 Highway and Botts Road. The new substation is needed to absorb the increase in load. It is also required for future further commercial development in the Grandview area for the future. The Grandview City substation located on East 133rd and West Frontage Road, and then the Grandview West substation located on Arlington Road, both contain substation equipment that are about 40 to 70 years old and are reaching the end of their service life. So these substations, the two that are in the yellow boxes up there, once this new substation is built and in service, those substations will be decommissioned and the equipment in them will be removed. The decommissioning process will take the equipment out, do environmental testing of the soil to make sure that it's clean, make sure the site is clean, so do any cleanup if necessary, and then return it normally to a green space that we'll maintain, or if we decide to sell the property, then negotiate and sell the property as well. That hasn't been determined. It can't be determined until after we get through the process of getting this new substation up and running. Removing the substations will also allow us to remove the 69 kV transmission circuits in that area that are average about 45 years old. And then removing this older equipment lowers the risk of outages, safety risks, and customers' rates over time, as it requires less maintenance to maintain newer lines. The proposed site was selected due to its proximity to Evergy's existing 161 kV transmission line. It's the brown line at the bottom, just south of our site. The new substation sites to decrease the amount of infrastructure that we have to get to it should be as close as possible to our existing transmission line tie-ins. The new substation will improve electric grid reliability in the area, and then some of the factors we consider when we're looking at a site are the size of the property, like I'd mentioned earlier, the location of the existing infrastructure, which is the transmission lines normally, Impacts on surrounding residents. This site, and I'll touch on that in a little bit later, has an existing tree line, a fairly thick tree line along the west side of it that's going to remain with this property. Floodplains, we don't typically put substations in floodplains. Electricity and water don't usually mix very well. Wetlands, site topography, we prefer a flatter site if possible. Tree coverage and road access. And that site that we selected pretty much fit all those criteria. The benefits of infrastructure upgrades. A new modern substation is needed to meet the growing community, as I had mentioned earlier, and the regional needs for reliable electricity and replacement of aging infrastructure. That's those two substations that are 40 to 70 years old. Growing demand for energy and changes to the electric grid requires investments in an expansion of our transmission lines and our substations. And then the investments that we make now lay the foundation for reliable, affordable, sustainable, and safe energy for customers and communities for the long term. Looking at the surrounding area, the commercial area to the north and southeast, and then vacant plan to the east and south, and then residential, like I'd mentioned, to the west. And I had mentioned earlier the existing tree line along that west end will maintain. We'll have to do a little bit of side trimming on a little portion of it for the transmission line, but most of those trees are going to stay intact. Photos of the existing site, fairly flat, not a lot of trees, so not a lot of tree removal for the actual substation site itself. Pretty ideal spot for a substation with pretty easy access off of 15th Street. Site development plan, you'll see the access coming off 15th Street, and then the substation site, which is about 3.6 acres, and then the fencing around it. The next side is the landscaping plan, which shows approximately 50-ish trees. I didn't count exactly, 52 trees along the east side of the substation, which is the more visible side. And yeah, the way the substation sits, which you'll see with these renderings that we're looking at, this is looking west from 15th Street. It is the most visible side, and that is where most of the trees are going to go. We can't put trees in a transmission line corridor because it'll interfere with the transmission line. And then, like I said, the trees on the west side will remain as well. And the trees that we plant along the east side of the substation along 15th Street should block that, break up that view as well, the substation. Looking northwest from 15th Street, I think that's the one I was looking at. The natural berm and the topography of the site makes it so that you can't see much of the substation if you notice from this rendering right here. Looking southwest from 15th Street, so that's kind of looking south onto the substation. At the more visible side, you'll see a little bit of that wall, and then the trees that we'll plant as well will help break up that view. The rendering looking east from 12th Street, there is one gap in the trees that we did find, so that's where we decided to take our rendering. And you can see some of the poles that come out of the substation, those either a lightning mast or a transmission pole, or which will be the taller structures, or a dead-end pole. We would be willing to plant trees in that spot just to close that gap up as well. That wouldn't be an issue at all. And then with discussions with the city, they had asked if we could do a sidewalk on the east side of 15th, if I get my directions right, going up to the intersection of 135th Street. And we are more than willing to do that with this project as well. We don't have the sidewalk designed at this point, but it'll meet all ADA requirements as well. And then the last couple slides are really wordy, and you probably don't want to hear me talk a lot, but it's going through the conceptual development plan approval. We have to meet certain criteria. We believe that we've worked really well with the city to try to meet all the requirements. We'll obviously get all needed permits prior to doing any construction and make sure that any questions or concerns are answered to the best of our ability. With that, I'm not going to go through them unless you really want me to. That's all I have unless you have any questions.
Thank you very much again. Anyone else on your team need to present anything?
Not present, but they will be available for questions.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Let's start on my right side. Any questions you have for either staff or Evergy?
Evergy,
Okay.
what type of response have you received from the surrounding residents in that area?
We had our open house. I believe I might have actually seen you there. We had 12 or 13 people show up. Not a lot of negative comments, just some questions that they had. We had a couple of concerned citizens that we're talking to and negotiating with right now, but for the most part, it was fairly mild. I've been to worse ones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Follow up on that, you was talking about some concerns. What are those residents' concerns? And what kind of impact do you think this will have on the resident side of this, if any?
I believe you'll hear probably from one of them this evening.
Okay.
She was one of them was at the meeting we had last week.
Okay.
So we'll address those after, I'm assuming after that comment.
Okay, very good.
The rest of them were, just what is it going to look like. I think our renderings did quite a bit to help explain and show what the site was possibly going to look like.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions from the board on the left side here? Alderman Taylor.
Yes, sir. That substation is from viewpoint, the housing on the west side, viewpoint 1 and 2. The EMF is going to be quite high, I believe. That's electromagnetic fields going to be quite high. And studies have shown that if you live within 300 meters, which is 980 feet, of a substation, it suggests increased risk of cancer. Now, the houses behind you are 185 feet, which is 56.39 meters. That's quite close. Now, I don't know what is it going to be like, 1,200 or 1,500 kVs coming out of there, and it's what they call it, micro Teslas.
So Grant Waters, a project manager with Evergy, so it's going to be 12,000 kilovolts will be exiting the substation. And then in regard to EMF exposure, in terms of the studies that we've done, you're actually exposed to household items much more than you would a substation due to the distance created from the substation site in this case. And then I would also like to point out that we have an existing substation, the Grandview City substation, located about a mile north, is also very close to a residential area. So I don't have any statistics on potential health problems, but we would be removing that substation as well as another one. So you would be exchanging 2 substations for one if that is a concern.
Yeah, those 2 substations are quite a distance away from the homes. This one's going to be a lot bigger, 1,200 kVs. The micro Tesla is pretty high, I believe. Are the wires going to be underground or above ground?
They'll be above ground.
Above ground.
And I actually have a handout that I can provide to you if you want to take a look at that.
Okay, that was one of my main concerns, because it is quite close to those houses to the west. I mean, quite a bit closer, but that's all I have.
Okay, other questions on this side? Alderman Renyons.
Are you able to expand in the future if you need to? Is there enough within that perimeter?
Within the substation boundary?
Yes.
I believe what we're doing within that substation boundary is all going to be done right now, isn't it?
There could be additional equipment added in the future, but it'll be minimal in comparison to what we're doing now. And we don't have any plans as of right now to do anything, but it would be possible to add an additional transformer, for example.
And it would all remain within the current fenced area?
Right.
Yes.
And is there any looking at future putting the small generator in there for backup?
It would be additional potential distribution bays based on the load capacity that's needed in the city.
And is that an option to put a generator in there to pick up extra load?
The distribution transformers and switchgears should be enough to handle the load. and provide redundant sources of power.
And the other thing, we're going to bring this in on, I think, 125-foot poles.
110 feet.
100. Now, are we going to use the same poles with the 6,100?
Yeah, it'll be
And
161
then going back
kV.
out with your 12.
Yep,
You're
12.
going to use the same pole
The,
for your incoming and your outgoing.
the outgoing would be distribution, correct? So it would be a smaller pole. It would be the smaller distribution poles.
So it won't, there'll be 2 poles and not 1.
You'll have correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, but you'll have the 161 kV coming in from that brown line that we saw to the south.
Right.
And then what's coming out would be distribution circuits on like the smaller wood poles.
But could it be put on the same pole so we only had 1?
Oh, you mean like an distribution underbuild on the same pole?
Yeah, we haven't completed distribution design. It's possible that those would go underground potentially as well. So it depends on the finalization of design, but it'll come in from a different direction than the 161 kV line coming from
So it's
south to
possible
north.
they could go underground?
Possible.
Probably not.
Yeah. Depends on finalization of design.
Further questions on this side? Yes, Alderman
Mayor,
Maloney.
The Jessica, I heard staff recommendation there was going to be a wall. You've used the word fence. Is it a fence or a wall that's surrounding the substation?
There will be, as proposed, there is a wall on the east side. The other side's because on the renderings and because of the layout, it's shown that you can't see anything from street view or from street level. We proposed to put a fence. I believe staff's going to have a condition where if that doesn't work, then we would go back with a wall.
So it's not a deal breaker to actually make a wall.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm sorry. So it's not a deal breaker for it to actually be encompassed by a wall.
Nope.
Because is that a pretty common practice with other substations?
For doing a wall on one side or for doing a wall on the whole thing?
All the way around.
Yeah, it just depends on the area and what's required.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to add an additional comment. The existing substations only have fencing around it, so I was just going to allude to the fact that this substation, in terms of the aesthetics, will look much nicer than the existing substations that will go away. So something to consider.
Sure. And how old are the existing substations?
They have equipment that's 40 to 7 years old.
Sure.
So.
And I guess I would just say my personal standards have increased over 40 or 50 years old.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know that, to be very, transparent with you as well. I mean, I like electricity. I like to use it, but, I got neighbors at the same time. So, and one last question here. I don't know much about a substation here. Are there constant employees on site, or is this once you build it, you come back to maintain it?
Once it's built, it's usually a monthly maintenance check, unless there's obviously an issue, and then you'll have crews on site fixing whatever's going wrong. But 99% of the time, I would assume, it's going to be unmanned.
Just out of curiosity, since there aren't things on site, do substations come with any type of security just to keep track of trespassing or vandalism or anything like that?
We have all types of security that we use depending on the area. This one's going to have lights that are switch operated, which they won't be on during the day. Or they won't be on at night. I'm sorry. They won't be on at night unless there's an issue. The fence itself, it has a security. It's what we use for security. It's 7-foot tight woven mesh with a foot 3-strand barbed wire on top to keep people out of it. We obviously don't want anybody in our substations. It's not safe for anybody, and it's doesn't make it very reliable if our substations are broken into. The wall at the front obviously is secure as well. It's 9 to 10 foot tall, and then it has the metal gate as well. That is locked and has a secure pass and all that secure information, secure stuff in it. If we get to a substation where there's security issues, we would probably have to come back in and do something else, cameras, something along those lines. But
I would just encourage you. I'm just speaking for myself personally that a wall versus a fence with barbed wire is much more preferred. That's just speaking for myself.
No, I understand. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Again, this is a public hearing, so anyone out there in the audience that would like to address this public hearing, now's the time to stand up and line up State your name and address, and come on, state your name and address, and from there. Which number?
My name's Ron Winslow. I'm at 13613 12th Street. And this is my home, the white one with the black roof.
Mhm.
And it'll show you before pictures, no towers or anything, afterwards the towers. And I agree with part of what you said. I received a letter from the city inviting me for the meeting tonight, and it says 185 feet from the. Now, it's very simple. You look up on the internet, living next to a substation, and it'll tell you you should not live within 300 meters and of the substation. And that, oops, thank you. That equals out to 984,251 feet. And, you know, so the city's already stating 185. And, but the internet will tell you everything. And my niece is married to an electrical engineer. He's a partnership in a firm. He just retired, but talking to him also, I've talked to, before Elisa White was supposed to be the representative to, with the community and the substation. I called her, she came out, we talked about, you guys own all the grass. I've been for years cutting the grass behind on the hill behind my home. And I'm 75 years old this month. You know, I don't need to be doing that anymore. I want you guys to start cutting your own grass. You don't have to cut it as much as me. You know, I cut, but when you cut up on the plateau, cut it all. And Emmanuel and I just talked earlier, and I've talked to Dan Hartman, and we finally got that part cleared out. But I talked to this Lisa White. I went over to the View. I talked to 3 gentlemen over there. They assured me the grass would be cut. It wasn't. They've been cutting on the hill, but they haven't been cutting here. So I don't trust, you know, and they say electricity or lightning, when it hits a tree, you can be standing under the tree, but the current goes through, it's called electromagnetic field. It goes through the ground so far. Okay, you got 110-foot towers. How far down is that going to go? You know, to the homes. And if this is being built,
You got 30 seconds.
why do I get 15 minutes and you're talking about
Sir,
my life? You
we
know,
appreciate it, sir.
They can't prove and they cannot disprove it causes cancer. You know, so, and if I'm in 185 feet of what, you know, this is not safe. You give them all the time they wanted, but you want me to take 3 minutes?
Sir, I appreciate but the process is we hear the presentation
Okay,
and then we
I'll
have
address that
public
to
comment.
the Attorney General of Missouri and the state representative.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So this is ridiculous. You're
Yeah.
talking about my life, but you're giving me 3 minutes. Prosecutors
Yeah.
and the defense attorneys aren't limited into presenting a case.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Please come on up.
Yeah.
State your name and address.
You need me to sign?
Hi, my name is Gina Anderson, and I'm the Director of Real Estate for Kansas City Life Insurance Company, our headquarters, 3520 Broadway in Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City Life owns 3 parcels of land in the immediate vicinity of Evergy's proposed substation. One shares a property line with them. We've had this ground for a very long time, these 3 parcels, and we've always had a great relationship with the city of Grandview. We worked very well with you in 2021 when you needed to take 2.5 acres of our large 16-acre parcel that fronts I-49. Those negotiations went very smoothly because we were really excited about the highway improvements you made, getting rid of the one-way roads, and we are now at an off-ramp and a roundabout, and we're really excited about the possibilities for that 16-acre site. After we agreed to sell you that ground, you called us back and said, our staging area just fell through for Rodmacher. Can we use your acreage for staging? And we said, absolutely, have at it. And they used it for the entire 15-month period of time. We love this ground. We've had a great relationship with the city of Grandview, as I mentioned. We had this property marketed through a local real estate firm called Zimmer for over 10 years. And as you know, the road improvements were announced in 2012 with some clarity. It's been tough to draw tenants as a build-to-suit to this site, not knowing when the road improvements would be made and how long they would be in front of a construction site. But now that they're done, we're very excited to do something there. We are not in favor of this substation. I can tell you in our meetings with you guys in 2021, your employees encouraged us to do 6-story Class A office. I can promise you there are no Class A office tenants that want to look down into a substation. They're talking about this wall on the east side. The wall on the east side does not go the entire length of the property. Furthermore, a 9-foot wall trying to mask 20-foot high equipment and 110-foot tall poles is not really adequate, especially if you're on the 6th floor of a 6-story Class A office building and you're looking down to it. The more concerning item is the other 3 sides. Last week at Planning Commission meeting, they said those other 3 sides would be chain link fence with 3 feet of barbed wire. Office tenants don't want to look into that either, neither do apartment people. So we're extremely concerned about the uses that we can really draw to our land when we've been very patient for 10 years, worked very well with you guys, and we are not thrilled about what it leaves us to build there. Quite frankly, we're not quite sure what it leaves us to build there. Finally, I want to stress that we have never received the required notification I'm told we were entitled to receive from the city of Grandview. We own 3 parcels there. We never got a letter saying from Grandview, here's the development plan, you have an opportunity to speak at the Planning Commission, you have an opportunity to speak at the Board of Aldermen, and I was told by one of your employees, Randy Dunn, last Friday that actually we should have gotten 3 letters because we own 3 parcels. When I left my office at 5 o'clock, we still had not received any correspondence. I've spoken to Prime Healthcare, who also is a large landowner directly south of the Evergy substation proposed site. Their in-house counsel told me yesterday, as late as 4:20 p.m., he has received no correspondence about this. He was shocked to hear this was going on. He hasn't heard anything about it. I think if we known of the timing of the public hearing, that unfortunately these came over the holiday, we would have been better prepared to sit down and hopefully talk to some of you people in advance of this, but we are speaking against this. We do not want this to be built. I'm shocked that more neighbors haven't showed up. I'm wondering if they got notices. Clearly one gentleman did, but we question the process that has taken place, and we're also very unhappy with the ground we've been patient with and what we can do with it when there is a substation right next door. I think Evergy has plenty of money to find an alternate location, and at a minimum, there was no landscaping plan presented last week at Planning Commission. It's very vague in this week's package. What kind of trees, what kind of
15
bushes,
seconds.
how tall.
15 seconds. Yeah.
Got it.
Thank you.
So we're not happy about the communication. We're not happy about the substation going there at all. We think they have alternative uses, and we would respectfully ask you not to approve this today.
Yeah. Thank you. And just to be clear, we're not approving anything. This is a public hearing. This is information. So we're not voting on anything tonight, okay? However, with that being said, do sign in here so that we can ensure that we have the
you
other.
have my right address. I
Well,
saw the mailing address. I'm just not getting anything.
Okay, and the other addresses. I want to make sure we have the other addresses as well. Yes, absolutely. We need, okay, we just need to make sure that we have all the information and that we're not missing anything. Okay. Fantastic. I appreciate that. And absolutely. Make sure the city clerk gets one because she's the documentarian, and that's very important that she has it. We appreciate that very much. Again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else out in the public that would like to address this? Thank you, sir. Like to address this public hearing?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Mayor. Once again, my name is Christian Parchman. I'm the chairman for the Planning Commission. I think something that might go a long way in communication between Evergy and the surrounding properties is, I'm not an engineer, so I cannot speak from personal or professional experience. However, addressing Kansas City's life concerns as well as the other gentleman's concern, if we could get maybe a letter sent to all the surrounding properties, I would suggest it'd probably be most appropriate from Evergy. Any alternatives or any additional measures that could be taken to site beautification so that if Kansas City Life wishes to build, maybe the view of the substation, if it's approved, would be less obtrusive, less offensive, more conducive to a pleasant view, if that makes any sense. And then concerning the other gentleman's concerns, if Evergy could maybe send something to all the surrounding properties as well, addressing his concerns, if lightning does hit the substation, if the substation is built, is his concerns, are they valid so far as the reach of the currents with the electromagnetic field? I'm sympathetic to these two parties' concerns, and so I just think that moving forward, that would be a great gesture on the city's part and especially on Evergy's part to send out an additional communication addressing those two issues. I think that would go a long way in smoothing things over.
Thank you. Appreciate that. At this point in time, since somebody else has come forth, Evergy, is there any final comments that you have? And then I'm going to be looking at staff at that point. So,
Jessica Keck again with Evergy. I appreciate the comments and the concerns. Regarding the EMF questions, we had one property owner that's very concerned about it. You had asked some questions as well. We have some EMF books that we offer to mail out to concerned people. We'll get you one. I have one with me today. I don't have more than one because I didn't fill my bag up. So I'll get you one today. I will mail one to the property owner. That was, I think we have his address up there. And then after you read the book, if you have concerns, I will provide some contact information as well. Evergy will come out to your home free of charge and we'll do some measurements. We don't have a substation there right now, but we could go to an existing substation and do some measurements, and then you can take some measurements in the home. And those studies have shown that the EMF readings you get from your microwave, from stuff inside your home, is higher than what we get from our substation sites, even right outside the fence line of our substation sites. So I think it'll go a long way in helping with that concern. So we'll get one mailed out today or tomorrow to that address on there. I'll get you this book today, and then if you have any more questions, I have a card as well. You can contact me.
thank you very much. Staff, anything you guys have? Anything else that we need to consider? And
Not necessarily. I did put in the staff report here the condition that we had kind of included as part of this conceptual development plan that kind of addressed some of the screening needs around the rest of the perimeter of the property. So their initial kind of studies and understanding of what this may look like from different vantage points out there along like 15th Street and from different angles. If we get out there during construction and realize that it is not adequate, that what's being provided currently under their proposal would be extended around those additional sides to make sure that those things are screened in a uniform manner. And much of that, at least ground equipment from the street level, will be hidden from view. So the text is kind of long-winded. I thought
Sure.
I'd paraphrase that for
all
you.
right, thank you. Well, it's in our document, it's in our package.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. The time right now is 8:09, so I declare the public hearing closed. The next item is consent items. Is there a motion for consent item F through K?
Mayor.
Alderwoman Bibbs.
I move that we approve consent items F through K as printed.
Thank you very much. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maloney.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So consent items F through K have been approved. The next area is ordinances. Is there a motion for bill number 7699?
Mayor,
Alderman Taylor.
I move that bill number 7699 be placed on its first reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maloney.
I'll second.
Bill number 7699, an ordinance authorizing a one-year extension of the contract with Laser Pipe Services Incorporated for police tow services.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maloney.
I'll ask my yearly question for the chief there. Are we still happy with the services and time response from Laser Tow?
Yes, they're fulfilling all our needs and very receptive when we call, timely. We're good with it.
Okay, good. And I will say that I am pleased. In my opinion, I've seen some pretty nasty wrecks where there's a lot of glass, and it looks like Laser Tow, either through the direction of the police department or their own, do a pretty good job sweeping up glass to make sure the intersection is free of not just the big stuff, but the small stuff that usually will just sit and linger. So I appreciate the attention to detail. So I don't know if that's your PD that kind of encourages them to do that.
They do a good job of that, a lot better than what I've seen in other cities, because you can see intersections where there's been an obvious crash, but for the most part, yeah, they do a good job of cleaning up the debris.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please. Oh,
Yes, I have
Alderman
a
Taylor.
question. Laser has been contracted through the city since 1998.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Are there no other tow companies within the area like Southland? 'Cause
We have a competitive bid process, and
just like, yeah.
and they've won it several years.
Because I was talking to a guy with Southland. He said they won't bid on it because the Laser's been getting it, and
It's like any other contracts we go through. It's a competitive
Yes, it
process, and
is.
if they win out, then they get the nod.
Okay.
All right.
And I believe my next question may be for Jamal. This contract, it was a 5-year, 1-year extension. So do we really need to go through this here every year, or can we go through the you have to do it every year?
Yep. Excellent question. We asked our city attorney about that too. This is approved 5 years ago. Every year, we bring it back. Is there a way that we approve just one time so that exhaust that? At that point, with what we have, the opinion was that no, it needs to go to the board every year. And the other question you ask, I can tell you, from a Laser's perspective, majority of the cost is response times. They're local. They're on our main street, right?
You're right.
And in order for you to compete with them, you got to eat up a lot of costs, and nobody's willing to do that, I guess.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Alderman Maloney.
Aye.
Alderwoman Bibbs.
Aye.
Alderman Hartman.
Aye.
Alderman Runyon.
Aye.
Motion for second reading?
Mayor,
Alderwoman Bibbs.
I move that bill number 7699 be placed on its second reading.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mayor,
Alderman Taylor.
I second.
Bill number 7699, an ordinance authorizing a one-year extension of the contract with Laser Pipe Services Incorporated for police tow services.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion for final passage.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Maloney.
move the bill number 7699 be placed on final passage and said bill be enacted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mayor,
Alderwoman Bibbs.
I second.
Alderman Maloney.
Aye.
Alderwoman Bibbs.
Aye.
Alderman Runyon.
Aye.
Alderman Hartman.
Aye.
Alderman Taylor.
Aye.
Ordinance number 7441.
So bill number 7699 has passed and is now ordinance 7411. Thank you, Chief. The next area is other business, and let's start with Alderman Taylor. Any other business you have?
Yes, I was wondering, it may be directed at Alderman Bibbs. The fountain's not on down there. Is that city or is that the fountains that's responsible?
That's the.
I used to love that.
That's the fountains.
Okay,
Yes.
I know you.
I'm not the president.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She turned it off.
She turned it off, huh?
I didn't turn it off. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, next time it
Have no
rains, I'm
control
gonna
over that.
look again, but that creek is starting to flood again down on Sycamore. Someone had went down there and dumped a bunch of trees in there, and I go down, Miss Patterson, she calls me, Miss Peterson calls me, because she has a underground spring that goes through her yard. She has a sump pump in her backyard. I told her the city can't help you with that, but that water flooding down there in that creek needs to be addressed. And I did go down there, and there are a lot. Somebody did go down and just dump. I have my idea who's doing it, because right next door, the guy owns a construction company, and a lot of that stuff has ended up in there. It's going down now, but I don't know. Remember a few years ago we had a kid that drowned in there, and we want to try to avoid that. That thing should be clear and running and be gone. But it needs to be clear. It needs to be done on 100, and I think it's 30th and Sycamore.
Yeah, it's 130th and Sycamore.
Yeah.
It's right there where you see the ravine goes right past from, it really starts on the far west side and comes all the way through to Raytown Road.
Yeah, and that's the end of it. Then it goes into Longview Lake.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything is beautiful. And I love the mural, by the way.
Yeah. Good.
I will chat with our Public Works and Engineer folks to take a look at if this is something that we can. But one thing is that it's not a city property. That's a creek. There's some federal folks who needs to involve with that and everything else, but I'll have them take a look at it and see what we can do. It's a specialized equipment too, to get something out of there.
Oh, I didn't know that wasn't a city property, that ravine.
Anyone else on the left side? Anything else?
Are you going one by one? Or?
Yes, well.
What?
Yes.
Okay, all right, yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I had a couple items here. Two of them are, I think, kind of for Randy here. Randy, and you don't have to answer right now, I just kind of wanted to bring something up. One of the things I very briefly had a conversation with Dave, shockingly enough, we were at the gym, and one of the things I've noticed are more and more donation bins being dropped in parking lots. So these would be clothing donations for Planet Aid or, different things here. I know we have ordinances that regulate how close to the intersections, how close to easements and everything they can be. Can we make sure those things are being enforced? Or if we have ordinances requiring that they actually be emptied, because I know the donation bin just down the street here with the gas station just overflows with things, and we're doing a lot of hard work on Main Street to have, things just being rained on and just kind of stacking up there. So if we can just kind of look into that, I would just like to personally know what type of requirements we have when it comes to those donation bins. Secondly, in Dave's presentation, I didn't want to ask it during the presentation here, but I thought we had an ordinance. If you have a new developer coming into, this is a perfect example, the Evergy substation coming in along 15th Street, they're required to put a sidewalk on there. I got the impression they're doing me a favor by putting a sidewalk on there. I'm pretty sure that Jamal, I know, I saw you turn around. I've been made sure I asked this later, but I just wanted to make sure that this is something that we're requiring all of our developers to do. I think it's in our codes that it's like required to put a sidewalk in. We have to kind of give them permission not to put a sidewalk in.
So to your first question, Alderman, I will certainly look into that as it relates to the donation bins, and we'll make sure that they are being maintained properly and that they are in the correct locations. As it relates to sidewalks and development, generally speaking, it is if the sidewalks are adjacent to the development site. The sidewalk spoken about for the Evergy project is on the opposite side of the street for Evergy, and so it would not necessarily be required for Evergy to install those sidewalks, but in working with them in good faith, they are installing them on that opposite side of the street that would not be directly impacted by their development.
Can we double check that? Only because where we put Kelly Construction and everything, they were required to put it on both sides of the street. We kind of took a hard line on trying to get the miles of sidewalks increased in here, and we actually gave special permission to only do it on one side. So I would think that it would still be required.
We'll confirm.
on the?
We'll confirm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, Alderman Runyon said that's because that's a new street.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
is that what the difference is?
That's right. That's
Correct.
part of it. And second is that the area you're talking about is a TIF district. And when we're negotiating on a TIF, we have a lot more leverage with regards to what it needs to look like, right? And maybe it was one of those special conditions that we asked them to do in that case, but we'll confirm.
Okay, because I guess I would assume if someone was building a house that's not on a new street, they'd still required to put sidewalks in. You know, I mean, if there was gaps, so there would still be a requirement for it. But, you know, I just was kind
We'll
of
confirm.
clarification
No
on
big
that.
deal. We'll confirm at the code.
And the last thing, next week, I'm being promoted from parent to coach for a T-ball team. So I will be late to the work session next week. So the main coach is on family vacation. I wasn't paying attention when they asked for volunteers. So I will be coach. I will be here, but I'll be late next week.
Alderman
you.
Maloney, if we could
Appreciate
get the
that.
location where you're coaching, we will cancel the meeting and I'll invite all city employees to watch.
It's gonna be a little hot.
Good. All right. Alderwoman Bibbs, anything?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Alderman Hartman.
Yeah, I've got a question on this 3-minute public comment and the 3-minute on the public hearings. I wonder where that came from and how do we get that extended? I think that these are people coming to speak, and I think that they should have the liberty to speak longer than that. We're representing them. I don't see that we have 30 people waiting to speak, and I think that we should hear these people out. I don't know where that came from. I just wonder if we can get it changed or what we should do on that.
Yeah, majority of the time we follow either the state or federal guidelines on this, but we'll take a look at and share with you guys.
That's a state and federal.
No. What I'm
guideline?
saying, what we do is we mirror, copy paste from their rulings and rules. I don't know it precedes every one of us in here where we came up with that 3 minutes. Maybe it's in the board's
I
procedures.
can tell you this is in our procedures. So
Yeah.
it definitely is in Grandview Board of Aldermen
Yeah,
procedures.
we'll check.
Okay.
We'll
So-
check.
So that can be
We'll
changed.
check.
Yeah.
Sure,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it was 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and we changed 3 minutes.
Absolutely.
Just a few years
Yep.
ago. So it
Well,
can
I
be
just think,
changed.
you know, people come up, they take their time to come to the
Yeah.
meeting. Even if our meetings lasted till midnight, that's our job, I think, to listen to the people, concerns. Now, it surprised me on the public hearing, Mayor, that he only had 3 minutes.
Yes.
So that must be somewhere in our policy.
Yes.
But,
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's in the
but,
policy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if the people could speak for 30 minutes on that particular thing, but a comment from the public cannot. So I think maybe we ought to look at that and get that changed.
Yes.
Or at
Okay.
least vote on it anyway.
Sure.
That's
I
my
agree.
opinion.
Good. Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's it.
A couple of things. Last week, again, it was mentioned the mural unveiling. I think was fantastic, well received. It's good to see that Alderman Hartman and I were actually there doing the unveiling, and well attended. And I think very encouraging for the city of Grandview, and it helps us prepare for the next mural. And I understand that conversations are taking place. Also, that we've got a concert Friday at the amphitheater. So looking forward to enjoying that. Hopefully the weather is going to participate and be halfway decent, and that we can enjoy that accordingly.
Can I
So,
play?
Hold that thought. Okay. That's a good thought. Staff, anything you guys have for us?
Last thing, Mayor, I wanted to mention is that I hope everybody's noticing not only Main Street looks good, but it looks great.
Yeah.
And with that said, we added 3 more art pieces on the other side of the street. We're getting a lot of positive comments about that. A lot of folks walking around, taking pictures and what have you. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it. Starting from where the school district's building is in that intersection, it goes up all the way to intersection of Grandview and Main Street.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The time is 8:24. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Mayor.
Alderwoman Bibbs.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mayor?
Alderman Hartman.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? So we are officially adjourned at 8:24.